Happy Sunday, everybody. Andy, Steve, and Corbin from WagerTalk.com. Welcome to the Road to Millions. We're going to get you ready for all of the Sunday NFL action. We have a ton to get to. We're going to go over all your player props, final lines. We've got some weather and injury reports, same game parlays. Going to go over the all lines, anytime touchdown scores, and we will wrap it up with the best bets. Let's get right into it, guys. While you're watching this, please hit the like button. It helps us out a ton. And as you know, we like to start with some positive vibes. I love Rich Paul. Positive vibes captain reporting for duty. Love it.
Nice.
Perfect time for us to go on a heater. That feels like a good plan. Yes, it does. And I got to shout out MMA Nanum. He sent in a question. I told him we would answer it on the show, but only if he listened and watched, and he did. And he left a comment, so awesome. Eskimos' Fire Show, Andy and Steve, thank you. Great job. Susan Campbell, you are the best. I love your videos. Awesome. So good stuff. So please leave us a comment. Tell us your wins. If you had a great day betting college, let us know in the comment section. Let us know how your road to millions is going. So we always love to start off the show with some really good positive energy. And also leave your survivor pick. If you have not done that, we still got a few people that I don't have picks from. So if you're still left in the survivor pool, leave that in the comment section. So guys, really, it's the 5% best bet. That's what we got up today. And we talked about the promo code that we've had all week. Use the promo code AL10. It gets you off at $10 off a one-day pass. Use it today. That's the best day to use it. That's what I've been saying all week. So it includes the 5% play along with all of our other plays. So if you haven't gotten the 5% play yet, go ahead and use the promo code AL10. Get you all plays for today, $10 off. Guys, we're going to do the weather report here, and it looks like the weather is going to be much better than it looked like it was going to be a few days ago. Minnesota and Chicago, it looks like the rain's going to get out of there around 10 a.m., so I expect the field's been covered. It's going to be 15, 20 mile an hour sustained winds. That's outside the stadium. I will remind you that inside the stadium, they have walls. Gusts up to 30 miles an hour, so that's at Seattle. Cincinnati looks dry. The one game that does look a little worrisome is San Francisco and Cleveland. Winds are a little bit less than what we're seeing in Chicago, but that's the game with most likely to have rain. It looks like there is going to be rain at some point throughout the game, but it looks like it's like on and off. So it's like dry and then really rainy. So that San Francisco Cleveland game, I mean, it's so Clevelandy. Like Deshaun Watson's not playing. You have like a third stringer playing. It's windy. It's rainy. It's just, of course, it's Cleveland. Indy, Jacksonville, no big deal. Carolina, Miami, no big deal. Detroit, Tampa, no big deal. The Giants and Buffalo, maybe a little bit of drizzle. Nothing too bad. Wins around 10 to 15, but I think we're going to see a pretty clean slate of games. It looks like that San Francisco Cleveland one is going to be the big one. And let's do the injuries here, guys. There's some bad ones. We'll start with the good ones. T. Higgins looks like he's going to play. Sam Laporta is a game-time decision, but it looks like he's going to play with the calf strain. Marquise Brown is going to play. Saquon says he's, quote, hopeful to play tonight. That's great when you have Saquon on your fantasy team and he's playing the night game and he says he's hopeful to play. Darren Waller is expected to play, so if you need 14 receiving yards, he should be good to go for that. Let's go for the guys that are out. Tank Dell is out. That hurts that Houston passing game. Jeff Wilson is out, not coming off of IR just yet. Austin Eckler is in, and Brandon Staley says he's going to get a full workload. DJ Reed's backup, and Sauce Gardner are out. We are definitely going to touch on that Eagles-Jets game now that they basically don't have a secondary. And then I have to shout out, have you guys seen what's going on with David Njoku? Have you seen this? Like, not too many people know this. So he got burned really bad in a bonfire a couple weeks ago. His face is covered in burns. He's been playing with it. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been burned really bad. I don't know how he's doing it. And he'd been kind of hiding his face, but he just put a picture of his face on social media and then donated money to a children's burn clinic. I don't know how he's doing it. I seriously don't know. That's got to be the baddest dude in the league right now. This poor guy. So
yeah, burns are rough.
Oh, it sucks. So, all right, guys, let us get into these final player prop lines. We'll start here with the passing props, and we'll go to the passing yards. 49ers and Browns, boy, low totals, bad weather, weird game. I totally get that one. Um, Tua 284. I don't know. Seems maybe a little high. I feel like if they beat up on Carolina, they're going to end up running the ball a lot. So that seems a little bit high.
I feel
Yeah, I
like if
agree.
you're gonna if you're liking two over that, I feel like you're better off just taking Hill or Waddle because that's the only people he's going to be throwing to. So
Truth. Yeah, absolutely. Vikings, Bears, Cousins, 257.5. That's going to be interesting to monitor without Justin Jefferson. Colts and Jaguars. These lines are pretty much dialed in. I do think Lawrence has a pretty good day. I'll get to the wide receivers there. Joe Burrow, are we believing in Joe Burrow? Is he back? 279.5, or was that just the product of Arizona can't guard anybody or can't guard Jamar Chase? I would say. Steve, Joe Burrow, you
Yeah,
buying or are you passing?
yeah. I'm just gonna watch for another week on him just to monitor this. This total seems right in the spot too, where I don't really have a good feeling on the over or under on that one. So I'll be laying off Joe Burrow, just watching him for today.
Stroud's down to 219. Tough Saints defense. Derek Carr looks like he's getting a little bit more healthy. Desmond Ritter, 201.5. He's shown a little bit of life here with his passing, and
it's
then
not hard to get much worse. So
well, that's true. Anything would be an improvement. It's a great point. I'll talk Sam Howell a little bit later. He was almost going to be my best bet because I'm a believer in this Falcons pass defense. So Garoppolo, we'll talk. Actually, let's just talk Garoppolo now, Steve. This is not the prop we're interested in with Garoppolo, is it?
Now we're looking at his interception. Talk about it. He hasn't went a week without throwing one yet, and I don't think against the Patriots it will be the week that he's not going to throw one. It's a great price for a Jimmy G pick, and Belichick and the Patriots know him pretty well, and I think that they'll get the job done today for us and get that interception.
Eagles and Jets. Jalen Hurts. I will be talking about this in the best bet section for sure. The Zach Wilson 197.5 is kind of interesting. I mean, I think we're focusing on the Jets secondary. Philly, they had a much better second half last week, but still not sure I'm a believer in that.
I'm
Cardinals and
still monitoring the Zach Wilson completions. I mentioned 18.5 last week. I think he was nailed on at 18.
Okay.
I think it's another spot to watch because, as I said last week, they're just trying to get him in rhythm, try and get him comfortable. 19.5, I feel like he's got to be throwing against the Eagles. I feel like they're going to get up, so it could be one to watch there.
I like it. Steve, your boy Mac Jones. They once that quote came out that he's on a short leash, they just took down all Mac Jones.
Yeah, they're not even going to mess with. They're not even going to mess with him this week.
Probably.
How can you? How can you gauge it?
Yeah, you can't. You can't. I think Stafford has a big week. I've talked all week about the Arizona secondary and just how they've gotten torched by big time players, and I don't see how they cover Puka and Cooper Kupp. So I think Stafford has a big week. I do kind of like this Baker Mayfield 228.5. Lions are really really tough to run on. I could see Baker having to throw it quite a bit. And then Tyrod Taylor, this is an interesting one. 181.5 against that Bills defense. Garbage time counts. This defense is about as banged up as it gets, so that's an interesting one. And then if Dak Prescott cannot have a big game against this Chargers defense, is it just over this season, Steve? Like you can't get a better matchup.
Yeah, it's do or die, and it should be a shootout in that one as well on Monday Night Football. Yeah, Prescott's number seems 256.5. I'd lean the over on that one for sure.
If you're a Cowboys fan, you're praying for the over. I mean,
yeah, right. Seriously,
you need the over. so any other quarterback props we need to go over, guys?
I mean, with the weather in Cleveland, the Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns is one I was looking at. It's just because of the value in it at plus 140.
Yeah.
We know last season this was like it was like almost like a guarantee. Week to week, the guy was just two touchdowns, never one, never three. I mean, this year 3 of 5, he's over. He had 4 last week against Dallas. It's going to be a defensive battle. I will say the one that while we're on this game though, I will say 49ers score first. and the money line is negative 140 now. We talked about it earlier in the week at negative 130, and that was almost my best bet. I love the 49ers in this game with the quarterback situation with the Browns. The 49ers have scored first in all 5 of their games.
Wow.
And the Browns have only scored first twice, and both those situations were 42 and 48-yard field goals. So, we're looking at a Browns team that barely has scored first in games. 49ers obviously also winning all of their games as well. So I love that prop at negative 140. That was close to my best bet today.
Yeah, and if Cleveland has a ball and it's raining, that makes that field goal pretty tough.
Pretty dicey.
Yeah, if you're looking at touchdowns, yeah, you'd like to think San Francisco's going to get there first. All right, rushing yards. 49ers and Cleveland Browns. I know it's sneaky. I know it's too cute. I'm not going to officially bet it, but I do love Kareem Hunt over 18.5 yards. With PJ Walker at quarterback, they're going to have to try and run the ball. There's no way they let him try and throw the ball 40 times. So between Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt, I think they're going to get a bunch of carries. Kareem Hunt, 5 carries each of the last couple games. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 8 or 9 carries just because of the sheer. There's no way they're going to let P.J. Walker try and air it out against the 49ers in this game.
I actually really like the Ford under in this one. Because
if
you look at his
game,
receiver,
isn't he?
Yeah, and if you look at his games, he had that one huge run when he first came in for Chubb, but that's really accounted for all of his yards. Obviously, we know the 49ers defense is really strong, and they'll be able to key in on the running backs with the quarterback situation today. You mentioned Kareem Hunt. Pierre Strong also, though, had 5 carries. I think they've each had 5+ carries the last 2 weeks, so they're kind of working these guys in. I don't think Ford is the answer here. I mean, the total's really low, but I love the over in this one. I mean, under in this one. Sorry, Ford under.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know what you meant. Corbin, you've been all over the Miami Dolphins. This Panthers team is terrible. You would think the Dolphins are up big. Can I interest you in an over on not Raheem Mostert, but Salvon Ahmed? If they get up big, does Ahmed...
if they get up big, then the backup guys see what they're about. I mean, there's nothing to lose giving some of these fringe players some chances, I guess. Saves Mostert, who's it always seems to have an injury in him somewhere along the way. So
that's what I was thinking. Like if you're the Dolphins and you're up, don't you just tell Mostert to sit down and take away his helmet? Like Jeff Wilson's on IR, Achane's out. They're one Mostert injury away from being a depleted backfield. So that was my thinking on Ahmed here. Vikings and Bears, guys. Boy, we got some interesting rushing props here. Steve, where do you want to start? We got Deontay Foreman, who's now 52.5. That's a lot. The exact same number as Justin Fields. We got Cam Akers and Madison. I don't know. Runnings. Looks like a lot of running props that are enticing in this game. Anything jump out to you?
This one I don't really have anything on. It's more. I'm personally looking more at receiving props in this one. I'm going to talk about the more touchdown in the touchdown segment. But yeah, the running back ones in this game I personally don't. There's nothing I love here.
Corbin, anything in this game?
The Kirk Cousins over 2.5. Every time I see a total that's like that low, he has to scramble just once in the whole game. Maybe worth a look. Other than that, I don't really have a solid opinion. I don't really rate any of them particularly as decent running backs. So it's like, which of a bad bunch do you take if you're gonna take any? Is like.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Cam Akers, just the low total.
It is a low total.
Pretty low total in there. Colts and Jaguars, the word coming out of Indianapolis is they're leaning more and more towards Anthony Richardson being done for the year. They're saying,
oh, wow.
Yeah, they're saying he may need surgery because if he doesn't, that shoulder injury is just going to keep popping up. So why not get the surgery now and just let Gardner Minshew? I'm really interested in this Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss dynamic. You have Jonathan Taylor that you just signed to 3 years, and Zach Moss this is his only year. My thinking is, why wouldn't you just run Zach Moss give him the Ezekiel Elliott there towards the end of the contract? It was listen, we know you're tired. Here's 30 rushes for you. I don't know. He's running great. 42.5 just seems a little low. I'm not really sure Jonathan Taylor's back. I think this is a pretty split backfield. You guys got any opinions on this one?
Particularly with that news that Richardson might not play. Why, like as you say, why risk Taylor? But the only problem with if you're potentially betting an under there is it's still quite a low total. He only needs to break one really
Yeah.
good run, and it's you're kind of stuck there already. So
Yeah. Other than that, not much in this one. Seahawks and Bengals. I have interest in the Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker because the Bengals are sneakily one of the worst rush defenses in the league. Steve, any thoughts on the rushing props in the Seahawks Bengals?
Yeah, I agree with you on Walker. I love that over 67.5. Like you mentioned, Bengals, they allow fifth most yards to opposing running backs. And he's went over the last 2 weeks. And he's just really consistent with his carries. If you look at it the past 3 weeks, 17, 18, 17. So you know what you're going to get with him. And I feel if he gets 17 or 18 carries, that's a low number for him to clear today against that defense.
Corbin, are we shifting to over on Joe Burrow?
I'm shifting to I'm not doing anything with Joe Burrow because he got it all in one run.
I
Really,
know.
which is what it kind of puts you in a rock and a hard place because now, before we were taking the under just because he wasn't rushing at all. Now, if he's going to gain more and more confidence in it every week, maybe he's going to go over. But with only having one run, it doesn't kind of swing me completely to the over. So it's just a stay away for me. So
The next game, Alvin Kamara, his rushing total is getting up. I will tell you, I like the under 57.5 for Damian Pierce. The Saints are just a brutal defense to play. They're just, God, their defense is good. So I'm going unders on those. Commanders and Falcons. Bijan, Corbin, you've been on Bijan a lot. I mean, are you looking more at his rushing, or are you still
we'll
looking at the
get to
receiving?
we'll get to. I've saved
Receiving.
him for the receiving part,
Okay.
but again, he's one that they look to get the ball in his hands so often that again at 60, what is that, 68 and a half?
68 and a half, yeah.
It's not an awful lot if he breaks a couple of deep ones again. But the Commanders defense can be pretty good. Yeah, we'll get. I prefer the receiving. We'll get to that
I
in a
got
minute.
you.
So.
I just can't quit Tyler Algier. I kind of like the over in this one because if the game script is close or Atlanta's ahead, they're going to run the ball time after time after time. So, Patriots and Raiders. Any thoughts on Josh Jacobs here? 71 and a half, Steve? Like, I mean, this Patriots defense, 71? This is a team that doesn't run the ball very well in the Raiders. Like, that seems pretty generous.
Yeah, but I'm more on Jacobs that under 13.5 longest rush. He's only had one carry over that all season long at 24 last week. Past that, his high was 10, and he's getting tackled. He's getting contact behind the line of scrimmage 45% of the time. It's the second highest rate in the NFL, and the Patriots do a good job of not allowing they're number one in not allowing the running back like contact before at like 3 yard carries, but without contact. They're number one in that category of not allowing a running back to go 3 yards or more without contact. So it's like the perfect recipe for another Jacobs. It's a team that stops the running back from getting contact. A running back that gets contacted behind the line of scrimmage consistently, and he's barely gotten over that total all year. So it's a perfect recipe for another under on that one, a sneaky one there.
Steve, how do you feel about the Patriots running backs going over? If they're having all these issues with Mac Jones, maybe they're gonna lean more on the running game. But I mean, picking which one's gonna go over is playing with fire as it
Yeah,
is.
I just feel like this is like a weekly thing with the Patriots running backs that you can't that I kind of harp on. It's just something you can't predict with Belichick and the running backs. I can never predict what kind of workload the Patriots running backs are going to get from week to week.
Eagles at Jets. We talked about the secondary issues. I'll get to that in best bet, but I got to tell you one thing I like that the Eagles have been doing. Man, they're holding the ball for huge chunks of the game. Against the Rams, they had it for like 38 minutes almost. I wonder if they do this against the Jets. With that Jets secondary, I wonder if they're just able to have these incredibly long drives, and I wonder if Brees Hall under 54 and a half is sneaky. I mean, like, he's explosive, we get it, but I don't think the Eagles are going to have that much problem slowing down the Jets. Like, Brees Hall is, like, obviously they're probably their most dangerous weapon at this point. The Eagles, that's their strength, is their rush defense. And even though the Eagles, you can throw on them, I'm not sure Zach Wilson's the guy to piece them apart. So, any thoughts on the running backs in this game, Corbin?
You kind of nailed it there. Would you rather Zach Wilson was thrown or having Brees Hall running at you? I feel like there's a lot more threat with Brees Hall to get through you than Zach Wilson. Because again, I've mentioned it before, but Zach Wilson longest under is always a good look. He doesn't really have that much of a deep threat. Lazard doesn't particularly go deep. Like Randall Cobb, when he's around, he's not going deep. Garrett Wilson's the only one that's really going beyond 20, 25 yards. I would rather like try and tackle that problem than deal with Brees Hall. So
Yeah. Arizona Cardinals, LA Rams. I don't know. I don't like anything in this game. Just for rushing pass on this one. Lions
Pass for me.
Lions and Buccaneers. This number on Rashad White has gone up. I'm surprised. I actually think it was a sneaky spot to go over. The line has moved up. I'm pretty surprised about that. I don't know. David Montgomery, I feel like I missed the boat on that one. His number was 82 last week. I mean, he blew over it. Like David Montgomery, he's the only game in town. Jameer Gibbs is out again this week. Like, is this number just too low? Is this Lions team just feels like they can run it on anybody, Steve? Like David Montgomery, I don't know, anytime touchdown, going over props. Did you just ride the hot hand here?
Yeah, his touchdown though is really juicy at this point. I like Mostert's touchdown as well today with some juice on it. But the Montgomery, like you said, we kind of maybe missed the boat with him. But he 78.5. Yeah, you are right. He's the only show in town. So I mean, yeah, I wouldn't take the under. I don't have a strong feeling on it. It's not one of the plays that I have circled, but I would lean over there.
Primetime games, Giants and Buffalo, Cowboys and Chargers. I don't have anything for rushing props in this one. Again, we talked about Dak Prescott. Tony Pollard. Okay, Tony. You got to get over this 68.5 against the Chargers. Come on, buddy. So I may or may not have him in one of my fantasy leagues, but it's not, yeah, I like that Cowboys team, man. Talk about front runners. Like beat the piss out of the bad teams and just fall apart against the good teams. Awful. All right, let's get into the receiving props. We got a lot in this one. 49ers and Browns. Listen, I'll take Amari Cooper under. Like, I just don't see PJ Walker doing anything with these guys. And if you're the 49ers, don't you just say, we're taking away Amari Cooper. Corbin, anything for these guys? Ayuk, the hot hand, bad weather.
I have Ayuk over 50.5. He has
nice.
58, 148, 43, and 129. So I was looking at it, and everyone obviously rates the Browns defense quite highly. They're pretty good against the pass. But if you look who they were, like the quarterbacks they've had to play, Lamar Jackson, a running back, Tannehill can't throw the ball, and injured Joe Burrow in week 1 and Kenny Pickett. It's not exactly a who's who of quarterbacks they've had to face. Ayuk seems to be Purdy's favorite weapon, or at least one of them. Just seems quite low total here. I could see them coming up with some trick plays, getting him deep for a couple. That's where I'm looking.
Well, speaking of trick plays, Kyle Juszczyk over half a yard at plus 100. Sign me up. He's healthy. He's done this the last couple weeks, and in a weird weather game, I could absolutely see a short pass, kind of a trick play on that one to Kyle Juszczyk. Absolutely.
Kareem Hunt over 5.5 receiving is another one that I was considering as well. If they're going to have all these problems, obviously you mentioned Walker at quarterback. Surely he gets at least a couple of like check downs to Kareem Hunt. So that's what I was thinking.
Steve, I can't believe I'm the one on Adam Thielen. I haven't heard you mention him. Like, this guy's like target central, right? Like 61.5. I know the line has moved up. I believe I talked about it earlier this week. It opened at 56.5, and it was 58.5. Now it's 61.5. I don't know. He's what is he? He's top 10 in targets. He's top 10 in receiving yards. We going back to him?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. You just got there first. You beat me to the punch on this one, but he's the only show in town. And like you said, that it's going to be the game script is going to be for the Panthers are going to be throwing late in this game, trying to keep up. So 61.5 seems awful low, and he's looked great. You know, he's been great as far as his overs and his props have been great for us so far this year. So I'm looking at I would gladly take his over again today.
Corbin, you've been all about
You know where I'm going next.
Just go ahead. The floor is yours.
Jalen Waddle is actually down this week. I saw longest reception is near 21.5 now. Again, we'll mention this when we get to the same game parlay, but without A-Chain, I feel like they're going to be just throwing it deep to Tyreek Hill and Waddle. I'm actually considering just playing both of their over longest because again, Tyreek Hill has gone deep on so many occasions. We'll get to it later, but
Yeah, Jalen Waddle's at 23.5, Tyreek's at 27.5. Those are your longest receptions, and yeah, this Carolina team just doesn't doesn't really seem like they're going to be that competitive in this one. So, Vikings and Bears. Steve, you wanted to bring up some of these receiving props in this one. What do you? A lot of names here. I guess the Vikings are the really interesting ones.
I'm actually looking the other way though. I'm looking at the more longest reception again. There's just this Vikings defense has just struggled against the pass, and we saw what he did to the Commanders on that Thursday night football game with the deep stuff. With the weather being all set, I would look his way on the longest reception again today.
I think it's going to be a very interesting game to see who gets the receiving yards for the Vikings. Do they continue to throw the ball a ton? Do they lean on the running backs a little bit more? I still have my eye on Brandon Powell, 26.5. After Justin Jefferson went out, the guy came in, had 4 catches, 43 yards. He's their slot receiver now. He's been in the league a couple years. So, and then of course KJ Osborne. Steve, you mentioned him earlier this week. This is a guy that we're going to keep our eye on, right?
Yeah, for sure. I like his over 40.5 receiving yards as well today. I'm sorry, I just got ahead of myself with the more stuff, but the Justin Jefferson injury is everything here, and we saw what happened last week when Jefferson went down. Osborne had his highest receiving total, highest targeted game of the year, 49 yards and 9 targets. It doesn't sound like a lot, but with him playing the full game without Jefferson in this one, the total at 40.5 seems very low to me. I love the over in this one.
One more I will mention is I was looking at Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. It's on a couple. It's flicking between 4.5, 5.5, but he's had 5 to 8, 7, and 8 receptions. I feel like he's going to get work. You've mentioned though Justin Jefferson. I think he could be a nice safety blanket, and 5 receptions when he's gone over in 4 of the 5 just seems pretty good to me. So.
Colts and Jaguars. Josh Downs, I love 45.5. So 30% of the targets from Gardner Minshew go to Michael Pittman. 25% go to Josh Downs. So you're getting a guy that gets just a few less targets from Pittman, and you're getting like 14-yard difference. We talked about Calvin Ridley. Oh, my God. He opened at 55.5. Now he's all the way up to 61.5. So that's a pretty aggressive move on Calvin Ridley. I like Ridley to go way over. I like Kirk under. We talked about how the Colts are really good against slot receivers and just get annihilated by the outside guys. There's a website said they give up like less than 10 points per game PPR to the slot guys, but over 31 per game to the outside guys. Like, we cannot stop anybody on the outside. You go look at the outside receivers the Colts have played. They just got smoked. Ridley had a monster day the week 1, and Christian Kirk kind of did nothing. So I cannot really figure out the Jaguars passing game from week to week, but I do know this Colts secondary well, and I strongly like Calvin Ridley to have a really good one. So Steve, I'm open. I'm open here, man. Jamar Chase, 88.5. He's open. Apparently he was against the Cardinals. Big number, but kind of hard to get away from him. Is stay away because the number's so high?
Yeah, me personally, this isn't one that I have a strong opinion on either way, but I would just stay away. Just the number seems a little high now. With him coming off these huge games, I just think that like he's due for an under here, but I don't want to necessarily bet on it either.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that puts out an under on Jamar Chase and he goes for 200 yards.
Yeah, could be embarrassing.
I still haven't seen a whole lot from Jackson Smith and Jigba. I guess it's coming. At some point, they're going to have to try and force him the ball to see what he can do, but it just hasn't really worked for him. Corbin, anything receiving wise in this one? T. Higgins back 57.5 coming back from the rib injury. Wow.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. It's too inconsistent with me in this game. I'm not sure who anyone's real favorite weapon is. Obviously, Chase is the favorite for
Hmm.
Burrow, but there's just so many options like Higgins, Boyd. I just can't pick one. I can't get there with anything in particular. So
Pass on this one. Saints at Houston. I just I find it really really tough to take overs against the Saints. Man, they've been really
yeah,
good. I will say Dalton Schultz as the safety blanket might be pretty decent, but I can't get to the window on with Tank Dell out. I think it's going to be easier for the Saints to lock in on Nico Collins. I don't know. I just think this is a bad matchup for Houston. As for the Saints, I mean, it's like the Alvin Kamara show. Like, I don't know. Do they even know that Olave and Michael Thomas are still in there? This is a really tough game. It's pretty much a pass across the board on this one. You guys have anything in this one for the passing games?
Yeah, it's a pass for me as well. I feel like the numbers are just right here. Nico Collins at 52.5. Yeah, I would lean over, but with the Saints passing defense, I can't get to the window on that one.
Robert Woods under 43.5. That's one I was considering, but again, I can't fully get there. But that was one I was looking at.
Commanders and the Falcons. You guys with me on the Jonnu Smith train here? Does he keep going over his total? 30.5. The coach did talk about how Kyle Pitts was injured, and then last week he did have a really good game. Even then, John Smith just goes over his total. I am all about the under on Terry McLaurin at 50.5. AJ Terrell has been freaking fantastic this year. This is one of the best pass defenses. So I'm on the under on the Commanders, but I don't know. I just can't quit Jonnu Smith and Tyler Algier on this team. I don't know why I like the backups on the Falcons. It's a very, very strange fetish that I have. Like, give me all
Well,
the backups, please.
well, I'll talk about the starter then. I'll go Bijan Robinson
There
over
you go.
21.5 receiving. So he easily went over getting like late 20s in most games. He went over in 4 of the 5. But interestingly, last week they locked him down completely. He only had 2 receptions. I like this as a bounce back spot for him. I feel like they will have noticed that now going into this week and all week plan to scheme and get Bijan Robinson the ball more, whether that's through the air or through the ground. You could easily take a rush and receiving for him just to cover yourself because they are just going to get him the ball. He's the main man for a reason. So
Percentage wise, this is a big drop. I think we have to keep note of that. Bijan Robinson, his rushing prop total was 27.5. That's a 6 yard drop, which is a big deal when you're in the 20s. Like percentage wise, that's a big drop. So I think the value's on the over for sure if you're just looking at it from a percentage perspective. Corbin, you going right back to Jacoby Myers?
I am indeed. Again,
Yeah.
he just seems like the main weapon for Jimmy. Like interestingly, this is one where you can actually parlay up. So against the Packers, you can put like 5 receptions and 50 yards, 6 receptions and 50 yards. He's had so many that you can get some good plus money on some of his alt over totals because they're just getting him the ball so much. I'm still not sure Devontae Adams is particularly healthy. I mean, he had those injections for his shoulder, and you mentioned Jacobs's rushing issues that they just end up in some of these like longer situations where they have to use Myers. He's just the main guy, it seems so far.
Yeah, he's been a cash cow. Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers are both like top. What are they? I think they're both top 15 for total targets and targets per game. I mean, it's them and then nobody else on this team. We're seeing that a lot with some of these guys, like these teams where it's like we have 2 receivers. That's who we're going to throw the ball to. Like the
Yeah.
stars are shining early in the season. So see,
Teams have definitely made adjustments to make sure their best players get the ball recently. You see it all over the field, like Dolphins getting Tyreek Hill the ball. You see it here with them trying to get Myers and Adams. Like every team is trying to get the ball just to their main player way more often than the early weeks.
I agree.
So,
It's like the balanced attack. We'll forego the nice balanced attack. Just get it to the big names. So,
Revenge spot alert on Myers as well.
oh yeah, yeah.
we know that Steve
And
loves a revenge
and
spot.
and Jimmy. I mean,
Yeah, it's
those two might be plotting their revenge.
yeah.
What, with Jimmy throwing a couple of interceptions to try and help? Is that a revenge
Yes.
spot or helping your old team out kind of spot? What does that mean?
They'll
All
take away
right.
draft picks from the Patriots if he throws those picks.
Eagles and Jets. All right, here we go. Jets secondary down to bare bones. I mean, is this an AJ Brown game or what?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at AJ Brown over. You're definitely looking at Dallas Goedert at 37.5 over. Devontae Smith has been up and down, but what a great place for a get right game. I'm just kind of all in on this on this Eagles passing attack, Steve.
Yeah, I'm all over Goddard here personally. I feel like he had his coming out party last week. He had biggest game of the year. 7 receptions, 117 yards, his first touchdown. I like him as a touchdown scorer as well this week. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, with the Jets being all banged up, I think that they're going to have to still focus on these wideouts, and he can just slip underneath. And also, the Jets have already struggled against opposing tight ends, fifth most yards against opposing tight ends. Sign me up for that over. It's a low total. I love this play for Goddard today, over 37.5 yards.
Corbin, anything to add, or did we cover this one?
AJ Brown. It's just AJ Brown.
Don't
I mentioned
overthink it.
getting their main players the ball. He's had 127, 175, and 131 yards the last 3 games. If that doesn't show they're trying to get him the ball, this is a perfect situation. One other play I will mention for that is AJ Brown to have the most receiving yards in the game is plus 175. Everything I mentioned, he seems like the main guy. He has the highest total. Just feels pretty good.
Really, really good point. Yeah, get
It's
that
a good
plus
look.
money. So Cardinals and Rams. I think Cooper Kupp goes over. I think Puka Nacua goes over, but I like the Puka number. These guys got almost the same amount as targets, and you're getting a 20-yard difference here. I mean, Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay got to be in heaven with this 1-2 punch, and they just traded Van Jefferson. They're like, why even have any more
no need.
receivers? We have Kupp, we have Puka. All right, Tutu Atwell. We'll get you a couple targets. I've gone over the Cardinals' issues in the secondary. They're banged up. They've gotten absolutely smoked the last couple weeks, and I just think this is a Puka Nacua 70 or 65.5. He's gone over this total every game this year, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if both of them fly over this total. Matthew Stafford's total is like in the 270s, and these are the only two guys he throws to. Like if he gets to 270, I'm pretty sure both these guys are getting over. Corbin, anything else in this game?
You've hit the nail on the head. It's just those two are the main ones. I was thinking about Tyler Higbee he's kind of like flying under the radar, but again, it's going to be a Kupp and Puka Nacua. They're just the two main guys. It's where it's going to be looking. So,
Steve, any interest in DeMercado here?
Not necessarily. I'd like to take a week to see what he does as the as the full-time back now with Connor banged up. I like to look for the receivers with the Rams though. If you like the Stafford over passing, then that's a great point. You have to like Kupp and Puka over because I mean, like you said, the numbers match up. If he goes over his total today, then those two receivers will be both going over. So I would go towards those two receivers in this one.
Lions at Buccaneers. This is a tough one. Like Mike Evans looks like he's a full go with the hamstring, but you have Mike Evans with a hamstring injury, Sam Laporta with a calf injury. I just think this is a stay away for the passing props in this game. Corbin, you got anything?
not really. I was thinking Josh Reynolds again. I mentioned him last week and he had a big game, but again, Amon-Ra St. Brown being back kind of just changes everything. He's the main guy. They're going to get him the ball some way.
Sure.
So other than that, not really. Mike Evans was one that I was somewhat interested in, but I didn't quite get there with that one either.
It's a hamstring with this guy. I mean, this poor guy.
Yeah.
And
Made of glass.
Yeah, and it just probably not gonna get not gonna get any better. I don't like, you guys know I don't like these big numbers, but I just don't know how you get away from Stephon Diggs. They won't
Yeah.
even let you play an under on Stephon Diggs. They're like, we know you're going over. And this is another team. We went through the stats. The Bills throw it to two guys. They throw it to Stephon Diggs and to Gabe Davis. The next guy has 100 yards receiving in this one. So I it's
The one
Stephon Diggs.
the one problem I have with Diggs is just they could easily get up so early that are they just going to keep throwing him the ball? They could be up like 15, 20. Are
I
they going to
think they
risk
keep
Diggs?
throwing, and if they're up, I think it's because Diggs has a
Yeah.
big one. This isn't a vaunted running game. Like James Cook isn't going to run 30 times for 150 yards. I don't think so. With Tyrod Taylor, pretty hard to play anything else. But I go to Diggs, and I don't know. Steve, any interest in Gabe Davis, or not a great matchup
N-
for him?
No, this isn't one that I like here. I actually like Diggs more personally as well here, and yeah, I can't get there on Davis essentially, and yeah, I like Diggs a lot better.
All right, good job, guys. Let us get into. I think we're gonna go to. Yeah, we're gonna go to your same game parlays. Corbin, you
Yeah.
sent over three of them. I will tell you, I just like the first one just because of the price. Really,
Yeah.
if I'm just looking at the individual pieces, it's probably the last one. But let's talk some of these out again. Just explain how you use the same game parlays and what the thinking is behind these three.
Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is get something. So you'll see when we get to it, but they're players I like to go over anyway and just getting that safety barrier with some extra yards. So I'll quickly try and go through them all here. So first one, obviously AJ Brown over 50 yards. I just said how much I like him to go over, way over 100 on that one. So AJ Brown has 127, 175, and 131 yards. Again, to get 50 yards does not seem very much when we've mentioned the issues the Jets have in the backfield. DeAndre Swift, 40 plus rushing yards. He's had 70, 56, 130, and 175. Again, if we're expecting them to be up, they're going to be running the ball. Uh, quite simple there. And then Eagles plus 7.5. Again, the injuries for the Jets, the Eagles are just not going to lose by more than a score to that team with the injuries and that offense. It's quite simple with that one. And then we have the Jags Colts game. Travis Etienne over 40 yards, so he's over in every game this year. But what I like as well is how many rush attempts he's been having in every game. So he's had 26, 20, and 19 in his last three. If he gets even somewhat of that usage again, he's gonna go over quite easily. 40 isn't very much in this situation. And then Evan Ingram is quietly flying under the radar. So he's covered both the receptions and the yards quite easily in every single game this year. Again, put basically two pieces that have gone over every game this year together. It's slightly juicier, but again, if it's hitting every week, worth paying the juice for.
Can I
And
can I
then
just can I just point out I love that Evan Ingram take, and I love that the Giants just were like, no, we'll get Darren Waller. That's like so, so, I love that Evan Ingram take, man. He's great in fantasy. He's under the radar,
yeah,
so athletic, and he traditionally does pretty well against the Colts. So
especially as the defenses are always looking like the Jags have so many good wide receivers. You've mentioned Ridley, Kirk. They're focusing on those guys. They're not necessarily focusing on Evan Ingram catching a few balls for a couple of yards. So yeah, like that one. And then going back to the Dolphins again for another same game parlay. I've just mentioned it before, but these are just the two main guys. They're just going to use them constantly. So we have Tyreek Hill over 50 yards and also 4 receptions, Waddle over 25 yards and 3 receptions. The two parts kind of go together for each player. If Hill's getting 4 receptions, he's getting 50 yards. If Waddle's getting 3 receptions, he's getting 25 yards. So what do we have? They've gone. I think they've both gone over in almost every game this year. Waddle has gone over his yards in every game, over 25. Obviously, he's had 4 receptions in 3 games, 5 in another. His receiving yards are 35, 46, 86, and 78. Tyreek Hill has 8 receptions, 3, 9, 5, and 11 for 181, 58, 157, 40, and 215. So again, we're getting parts that are basically cashed in almost every game. In a game that the Panthers defense sucks, no 8 chain to take away some plays. It's just I see both just flying over. So
I love it. I love it. Great job on those same game parlays. And then Corbin, you've just been money on the Ultimate
yes,
Universe. Before you do these, can you just explain how you don't have to pair these with these exact ones? We use them in all kinds of parlays, cross sport parlays. Like these alt lines
exactly.
they're just beautiful.
Exactly. So a key example actually is, say you liked the Dolphins same game parlay from before, you could easily add, I don't know, 49ers -3 to bring down the juice even more. But you can use them in any sports. We've used them with golf, F1, soccer, tennis. They're just great to bring parlay juice down. So as you mentioned, last week's one won quite comfortably. So we had the Dolphins -3, they won by 15. We had the Jets +10, they won by 10. And then we had the Chiefs +7, and they won by 7. So again, quite easily on that. But yeah, you can use them with a variety of other stuff. So this week we've got 49ers -3. We've done this game to death, but Watson being out, there's obviously no Chubb. I just don't see the threat from the Browns, particularly on offense. The 49ers have so many weapons and so much variety that even if they start slow, Steve's mentioned how they do start fast and they score on the opening couple of possessions and get up. But even if they start slow, they're so good at making adjustments and stuff that you just have to feel that they're going to pull through, because their defense is great as well. Saints +10 versus the Texans. There's a couple of injuries. Obviously, the Texans are without Dell. You mentioned that one. He's now out. And the Saints defense is so good that even like, how are they going to get blown out? The games are so tight that they're normally one possession, one way or another. +10 is quite a big jump when they both teams struggle to score more than 10 points normally in the 20 points in the Saints game. And then again, back to the Dolphins -5. They have far too much offense. They're just going to get Hill, Waddle the ball, and they still have Mostert in the background. So they've covered this in all 5 of their wins. The Panthers have been destroyed in each of their last 3 games: 42-24 to the Lions, 21-13 to the Vikings, and 37-27 to the Seahawks. So only need -5 on that one. So.
Great work on these alt lines. Love the thinking behind them, and they're just fantastic parlay pieces. I mean, they're hitting every week. So great job on that one. All right, Steve, let's talk anytime touchdown scores. We're still playing the Patriots. Garoppolo's going to throw them one.
It's
So
coming.
Yeah,
It's
it's
coming.
got to be. Come on, Jimmy G, help us out here. We're still going back to Jahan Dotson, but then what do we like here on these anytime touchdowns for this week?
So with Dotson, I just real quick on him, I think that McLaurin draws Terrell, so that might open him up today. And we're just taking him weekly anyway. But Patriots, let's get the job done here. This has been far too long. +800 today. They haven't gotten the job done yet. But
He's got the jacket on.
I got this. So yeah, and if they get it done today, then you'll see it again next week, and we'll see it every time until they don't score again. But my favorite anytime touchdown scorer this week is DJ Moore at +140. I love this guy this week. He's had touchdowns the last 3 weeks with 5 total. We saw him torch the Commanders last week. Vikings, very poor against the pass. Most yards allowed to receivers. 4th most touchdowns allowed to receivers. And we got the Bears dealing with some injuries with the running backs. St. Brown is on the IR as well. I love DJ Moore this week, so give me his touchdown at +140. Andy, you talked about Ridley a lot this week, and I love him to score a touchdown. He scored against the Colts in week 1. You talked about how they struggle with the outside receivers and are really good against the slot receivers. And Nozay Jones, I think that Ridley is going to feast on the Colts today, so we'll look for him to score a touchdown at the same odds as Moore. Goddard, we've talked about. We've beaten this Jet secondary to death. And they are beaten to death, quite frankly. The Jets tight ends have struggled against tight ends, and Goddard last week had his big game scored his first touchdown, and I think he's going to be able to leak underneath while they're occupied dealing with the receivers and the poor defensive backfield, their banged up defensive backfield. And then the Pater parlay is plus 71. We're going to put more in there with Ridley, both at plus 140. Add Mostert to it. He's heavily juiced this week, but with the game script right here, and this one, in my opinion, calls for him to get the ball plenty. And I think that he's kind of like almost the free square this week, essentially, almost for a touchdown. I mean, nothing's free, but without a chain in the mix, I think that the Dolphins are going to score plenty of points here, and that Mostert will at least get one. So wrap up those three guys and at plus 771.
All right, guys, let's get to our best bets. Go grab that 5% play or just use the promo code AL10, AL10. Get you $10 off a one-day pass. That'll get you the 5% play along with all of our other plays for today. Hit the like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us how your day went on Saturday. If you had a great day, let us know. We want to celebrate everybody's wins. Let's do the best bets. I will start first. Jalen Hurts over 231.5 passing. Instead of throwing against an elite secondary, he's throwing against the Jets practice squad. I just think this is a great spot for Jalen Hurts to have a huge, huge day. They've been incredible with the time of possession. I could see him going over his passing, over his receptions. And I think running the ball is going to be a little bit difficult for them until the second half. So look for a big Jalen Hurts day. And look for him to go over his passing based on these injuries. I will tell you I was going to go Sam Howell under his passing as my best bet going up against the Falcons' pass defense. But once those guys got ruled out for the Jets, I had to make a pivot here. So, Steve?
The amount we've talked about these Jets secondaries, at this point, Andy might be lining up in the backfield.
I could. You never know. You never know. My hamstring feels great this morning. Steve, you've been all over Bryce Young in this under longest pass. You're going right back to it. I don't blame you.
Yeah, I'm under on this one until he gets over. He's maxed out at 30, and he just doesn't have the weapons to go over this. I mean, we talked about Thielen, and he's been great, but he's not a guy that's going very deep. Mingo was a former tight end. He just doesn't have the deep threats. And, he couldn't even get the job done the past 2 weeks playing from behind against Detroit and Minnesota. Looking at Miami, we mentioned this earlier in the week. So Daniel Jones and Mac Jones both went under. They couldn't even get past 20 yards against this defense. But on the other hand, Herbert, Allen, Russ Wilson, those three all went over. I think that Young is in the category with the two Joneses. So until he goes over this, I'm on his under, and I love this play again this week at under 32.5 longest pass for Bryce Young.
Speaking of Panthers in the under, Corbin, you just fade these Panthers.
Yeah, I can keep this short and sweet. Chuba Hubbard just sucks. He is such a bad running back. 47.5 is just huge. He's had 37, 35, 41, just two, 16 and 60. Again, not expecting them to be running a whole ton, playing from behind. He sucks. Just take his under.
All right.
And we have the Panthers color. Andy's wearing the Panthers, and we have the Panthers color in the background for the best bets as well.
Yeah. Shout out to my Indiana Hoosiers, Steve. They scored over 5.5 on their team total. The joke was, can my Indiana Hoosiers score more points than Michigan scores touchdowns? And they tied. Michigan scored 7 touchdowns, and my Hoosiers scored 7 points. LFG,
That's
let's
awesome.
go, Hoosiers.
Shout out to North Carolina too as well.
Yes.
Over team total.
Yeah,
extending our college football run to 6-1 now.
Is beautiful, and congratulations on Corbin for somehow cashing on Tommy Fury to win by decision. I can't believe we bet on that, but a win is a win. So, all right, guys, have a great day in the NFL. Remember, don't overexpose yourself with too many bets. If you had a rough day yesterday, just calm down. You don't need to get it all back in one. Pick your spots, low volume. Steve and I will be back tomorrow for the Road to Millions. We'll be doing our bankroll reset day. So good luck on all your plays. Go grab that 5% at WagerTalk.com. We'll see everyone tomorrow on the Road to Millions.
Good luck.